You ready? Okay, so ringworm, one of the most efficient ways to get rid of ringworm obviously is oral medication, but if you compound that with Lime Sulfur Dip every 5 days, you increase your chance of success infinitely. So we strongly recommend that in addition to oral medications, you go with the Lime Sulfur Dip every 5 days. There's really nothing to it. One thing you want to do is have a not so nice shirt on. So because if the Lime Sulfur Dip does get on your clothes, it may not wash out. I've actually never had it stain, but the label says that it can stain. The other thing I do is I take my rings off for whatever reason. To mix the Lime Sulfur Dip, you're going to use 4 ounces in a gallon of water. So the first thing you want to do is get the water nice, lukewarm, comfortable for the kitty temperature. So we're going to let that run a little bit. The chemicals in the Lime Sulfur Dip tend to settle to the bottom, so you want to make sure and shake it very vigorously, particularly if it's been sitting in your cabinet for a while. It tends to crystallize out a solution. So just shake it very vigorously to get it mixed up again. And it smells fantastic. You will love the smell.
Well, if you like rotten eggs.
Right. If you like rotten eggs, it smells great. But the smell doesn't persist. So again, we're going to just put 4 ounces in a bucket and then fill it up with lukewarm water. We're going to fill it up to the 1 gallon point. If your bucket doesn't have a measuring lines of measurement, you can always, of course, feed it with measuring cups and such. I'm just going to check and make sure the water feels good, and it does. Just a little bit more warm water. We also have the room temperature turned up a little bit so that all the fans are off. Particularly in the wintertime, you want to make sure and jack up the heat. If it's in the summer, just turn the AC off for the duration of time when you're dipping. We don't want the cats to catch the chill. Okay, and that ought to do it. And then, remember that our pets key off of our own emotions. So the first thing you want to do is just get very relaxed. And don't let so the kittens are going to freak out if we're freaked out. So you can go ahead and put the first one here. We're going to start out with a dry kitten. If they have a lot of oil on their coat or they're real dirty, you want to make sure and shampoo them first and dry. So we start with a dry kitten. I'm just going to put my hand around the scruff of his neck, and my fingers are going to meet like this. So just a hand around the scruff of the neck. Notice that I'm going so far up that the ears are actually coming together when I grab. And then I'm going to support him from a little bottom. And I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to be very, very calm and relaxed. And we're just going to lower him into the bucket, just like so. So now, can you see into the bucket? We have his lower body all the way submerged. Ringworm tends to concentrate around the tail, the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the face, the ears. So we're going to take those toes and just make sure all of that liquid goes up in between the toes. Also a good idea while you're treating for ringworm, make sure you keep the nails clipped nice and short because the ringworm can also get up in the nails. So again, I'm just working all of this in between the toes. I'm going to work it all very thoroughly into the tail. This particular kitten, Opie, actually doesn't have ringworm, but 2 of his siblings do. So we're going to treat all of the kittens in the litter for ringworm, even though he's not showing clinical signs of it, because it's so highly contagious. And then I'm just working it into his coat. He's got a nice short coat, so it's a little bit easier, but we want to make sure that all of the dip makes its way down to the skin. So we want to permeate the entire coat and get down to the skin surface. And there's always going to be a little bit of oil on the surface of the coat, so we want to work it very thoroughly. Carol says she read an article about using a washcloth to do this, so some folks may prefer to do that. Again, I just prefer to use my fingers. My nails are going to get temporarily discolored, but in several hours I'll be able to get that out again.
But some people could use gloves.
You can use gloves if you want to. Just be mindful that the solution is probably going to work its way underneath the glove anyway. You know, because I'm submerging, you know, my entire hand into the solution. And again, I'm just remaining calm. Even though he gets upset, we want to make sure and push his little fingers down there. And again, I'm working the solution in between his fingers, and making sure it gets all the way down to the skin surface. Same thing with the other one. Again, just staying nice and calm and relaxed. Even if he gets upset, I would stay very calm and relaxed, because our pets feed off of our moods. And again, notice I'm not letting up on my grip. Yes, baby. Oh, he's purring. Probably purring because he's nervous.
Yeah.
I'm going to just kind of push him down a little bit because I want to get up on the shoulders. You can, if you have a litter of several kittens, you can use the same dip for all of the kittens. The advantage to the Lime Sulfur Dip is that it really does help prevent the spread of the disease. Not only does it help prevent the shedding of spores into your house, but it also helps prevent the kittens from spreading it to one another. Some of the shelter medicine literature even recommends you dipping every kitten on admission, even if you don't see clinical signs. And by the way, clinical signs of disease are basically hair loss or scaling of the skin. And you want to pay particular attention when you get a new kitten to inspect the paws, the feet, the elbows, the nose, around the face, and around the tail for areas of hair loss. And if you see those, you want to go ahead and jump on it. Get it evaluated immediately. Because if it's ringworm, it's going to take a minimum of 3 weeks to treat.
And ringworm is
It's a fungal infection. It's a very superficial fungal infection. In animals, it infects the hair, the shaft of the hair, and it can also infect the nails, which is why we want to keep the nails short. The fungus tends to have a preference for living on the cooler sides of the body, so that's why it tends to more easily infect the tips of the fingers, the tips of the toes, because and the face area, the ears in particular, because those areas are cooler. So I'm being real careful not to get this into the little guy's ears, inside his ears or inside his mouth. Carol's handing me a little cotton swab that I can just kind of go up on the face area. And again, I don't have to be real meticulous with him so much because he actually doesn't have ringworm. I'm just keeping him from catching it. He's also getting the oral medication as well, again, because two of his litter mates have it, and it's so highly contagious. So we're treating him just to make sure he doesn't catch it.
And the oral medication is?
We use itraconazole. Common name is Sporanox. And then when I pick him back up, I'm going to support him from the underneath side and maybe let a few drops fall off. And Carol is holding a towel open for me, and she's just going to wrap him up in the towel. And that's how you dip a kitten. I'm going to go ahead and grab the next one and do the same thing. If I can find one.
They know what's coming.
Yeah.
So you just dry them off, you don't rinse them off?
We don't really even dry them, we just blot them.
Yeah, you just kind of blot them.
Because you want it to dry on them.
So if he licks himself,
they're going to lick themselves.
it's safe for him?
I mean, that's, yeah. You're really not, you hope that they won't do too much of that, but I've never had one that didn't.
Yeah.
Now this one actually has active lesions on her tail.
Oh, maybe I can get a zoom
special attention to make sure that tail stays submerged for quite a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's complaining about it.
She's complaining, and she's got it in between her toes as well. So we're going to just really work those paws in the solution. Yeah, baby, I know, but this won't take long.
And what's the recommended number of times?
Every 5 days for 3 weeks minimum. And then if you're starting to see, the clinical cure is when you see hair regrowth, when you see full hair regrowth. They still recommend that you get a culture, or at the very least evaluation by a vet. The culture is the gold standard for proving that they're clear. And once you start to see hair growth, you can go back to the vet and get it evaluated. And if they say, yep, you're ready to go, then they can start going to adoption days, or they can go to their forever home if they've already been pre-adopted.
And notice how she's avoiding the claws. That's why you want to trim them.
Yeah, and some of the vets recommend, keeping their claws clipped closely more to help prevent spread of the disease from one kitten to the next, because they do a lot of horseplay. And the claws can be sort of a reservoir for the fungus.
You want to also mention the antifungal.
Yeah, if you have an area of scaling and hair loss, you can also add a third element, which is the miconazole. You want to use 2% miconazole if you're going to use it.
It's the same kind of thing that you use for
vaginal yeast infections. For athlete's foot, it's only, most of the formulations are just 1% miconazole, so kind of read the labels and make sure you're getting 2%. And again, most of the vaginal yeast infections are 2% miconazole, and it actually costs less too. So, what was I going to say?
the oral medication.
Oral medication. So yeah, that's the trifecta.
So culturing and how you know that it's cleared up.
Yeah, culture is the gold standard for proving clearance of fungus. It is contagious to humans. Obviously, it's one of the few cat diseases that's zoonotic, meaning that it can be spread to humans. I've spoken with several veterinarians, and they advise that if you are worried about humans catching it, children tend to be more susceptible than adults. You can bathe in 2% ketoconazole shampoo, sell it over the counter.
And doesn't it spread more quickly in warm weather? I think I read something about that.
I would imagine, because people are wearing less clothing, so yeah, that would make sense.
Oh, they are all hiding out. It's like, oh, look, right behind the purse. That's probably all you need to do is a couple of them. There's no need to record the whole thing.
Yeah. There's Adam.
And the white kitties, the kitties with white on, come out looking like a Cheeto. But it fades quickly.
And as far as disposing of the...
down the sink.
Just pour it down the sink. Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh. Okay. And that's Dr. Peggy Polk signing off.
All righty.